Okay, Vanderbilt did good things. Greed puts food on my plate and so on. My brain's convinced that greed has made America better. But my stomach still tells me something else. Yes, this house is beautiful, but isn't this unseemly? There's just something nasty about some people having so much when others have so little. Shouldn't there be rules that limit the disparity, make wealth more equal?
Teldar Paper has 33 different vice presidents, each earning over $200,000 a year.
Why, for example, should the bosses, the executives of America's biggest companies, why should these fat cats be paid so much?
With their steak lunches, their corporate jets and golden parachutes.
When the stockholders and workers usually get so much less.
Hold the presses.
The corporate boss is now Hollywood's favorite villain.
When you remove Mr. Bunn's heart.
One survey found that on TV, criminals are more likely to be portrayed as businessmen than any other occupation. In the latest James Bond movie, the villain isn't a mad Russian scientist or bomb-throwing terrorist. He is, of course, a businessman, greedy for more.
I want books. I want films. I want TV. I want radio.
And why not portray them as villains? Lots of real-life chief executive officers, CEOs they're called, have been closing factories, laying off workers, while still writing huge paychecks to themselves.
This wine is probably $500 or $600.
CEO T.J. Rogers once fired hundreds of employees, even though his company was making a profit. Rogers said he did it to cut costs, but Rogers didn't give up his personal vineyard or his big house with its $100,000 pizza oven.
I have a nice house. I paid $1 million for my house. I built it myself. So what? I mean, I've earned it.
Rogers earned his millions by founding Cypress Semiconductor, a Silicon Valley computer chip maker.
I built it. I own it. I deserve it. There's nothing wrong with that.
He's already made more than $30 million, yet he's determined to make more.
What for? Now you're just being greedy.
Well, you could say that. The fact is, I could take what I have, and I'd never have to work another day in my life. As a matter of fact, I'd never have to spend another day in the same city for the rest of my life.
Aren't you ashamed of yourself?
No, I'm proud of myself. I'm a good guy.
He's a good guy, he says, because he turned a one-man business into $1 billion chip company.
These are all the different kind of chips we make. Our company was worth $0 in 1982. It had one employee, me, and it was in debt. Today it has 2,500 employees. Our company today is worth $1.4 billion. All of that money has been created. That is a positive thing that impacts favorably the lives of a lot of people. They buy cars with it, they go to school with it, they retire on it.
Rogers himself is a driven man. Competition's an obsession. He thrives on it. Instead of just jogging, he does wind sprints uphill. He still works 15-hour days.
Okay, I'll work on this later.
Trying to make him and his business richer.
You got millions of dollars already. You're running around frantically trying to make more. It's just ugly.
Well, buried in your question is an assumption that making money is bad. It isn't. I do good stuff, not bad stuff. And the world's better off when I make $1, not worse off.
Rich as Rogers is, he still makes much less than some other CEOs. Take my boss, for example. Michael Eisner recently took home more than $500 million. My instinct tells me that when he gets so much, I and others get less. But is that true? The board of directors had to approve the payment.
Are the boards of directors stupid? Are they all corrupt? Or are they seeing something that maybe you and I don't see?
Since Eisner took charge, Disney's net worth has climbed from $2 to $53 billion. That's $52 billion more than Eisner was paid.
He's creating a lot more money for the company than he's getting back.
To do that, Rogers says CEOs have to be tough.
Big picture, Steve, what's your problem?
We're going to use elements of compilers.
When Fortune magazine wrote about America's toughest bosses, they put Rogers on the cover. Rogers isn't embarrassed about that. And look how ruthless he is when an employee wants to earn not even close to what Rogers gets.
The guy's going to leave for $2,000 a year. I want him gone.
Yep. That's mean. You're being mean to people.
Hey, you're fighting a war, an economic war, with a major power. You better look to the top guy to be tough. Do you want the head guy to be touchy-feely, wear Earth shoes, eat granola, and drive a Volvo?
Traditionally, businesses see their jobs as maximizing their profits.
Not long ago, the owners of Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream said they'd practice caring capitalism. For example, they'd limit how much their next CEO could make.
How can you possibly justify somebody making $1 million or more a year when their line-level worker can't make enough to afford a house?
Ben & Jerry announced that the highest-paid workers would make no more than 5 times what the lowest-paid workers get. Lots of people cheered the idea. But it didn't work. Ben & Jerry weren't satisfied with the people who applied. They ended up hiring this man at a salary of not 5 times more than other workers made, but 14 times more.
I'm glad to be the CEO, and I hope that a year from now you'll say the same thing. Thank you.
Then he didn't work out. Ben & Jerry paid even more to hire today's CEO. No! Executive salaries are too high at lots of companies. Say these workers at a union rally on Wall Street.
When these guys are making more, that means there's less for you?
Yes, without a doubt.
They don't give back
one
what
pie,
they
get a bigger piece, you get a smaller piece.
We get the crumbs. We don't even get a piece. We get crumbs.
It is true that the wage gap between the highest and lowest paid has widened. The AFL-CIO complains that in the past 15 years, bosses' pay has risen 500%.
That's greed.
Still, this doesn't mean the workers were hurt. Factory wages were up too, up 70%.
We will not allow you.
Still, says AFL-CIO President John Sweeney, that doesn't justify the absurd payments the bosses get.
This is basically about corporate greed. They're just greedy at its worst.
What does the word greed mean?
Greed means selfishness. It means taking more than you deserve.
More than you deserve. Of course, who decides what we deserve? TV reporters make lots of money.
Now, I've never turned down a pay raise. I want as much from me as I can get.
And John Sweeney makes more than $200,000.
You ever turned down a pay raise?
No.
You're not greedy?
No.
But that's wanting more. We could live on less.
No, I'm not sure about you.
Well, you could, couldn't you?
No.
You need every penny you got? I mean, you could take less, right? Give some to the workers?
Half.
So aren't you greedy?
No.
Nor am I, says the rich entrepreneur, as he pours his guests fine wine from his expensive wine cellar.
If we can ship 10 new products every quarter for the next couple of years, we will all be very well off.
And if they're well off, we'll have benefited. Of course, there are exceptions. The CEO pays himself a fortune even when his company isn't doing well. The meatpacking plant that defeats itself by being dirty. But those are exceptions. In general, greed works for businesses only if they create something we want.
Cheers.
Still, once they have all this money, aren't there more moral things they should do with it?
Coming up next, when people are this rich, shouldn't they give more money away? Wouldn't that be the fair thing to do and help more people?